JF Stretford Paddock, this is the paper talk. As you can see, I'm in the studio, so by now you know what to do. You get involved in the chat and the comments, and we'll be talking about all the latest Manchester United news. We're going to be talking about, as you can see there, that man, Harry Maguire, who's been trending for about 24 hours since that report in ESPN involving his supposed comments or via his camp about his time so far or his recent time at Manchester United and some of the problems that he's had. So we'll get into that. We're also going to be talking about Liz Truss and her perhaps rolling back this regulator in football. Gary Neville obviously was a big proponent of this, got involved in some of the guys here, got some of the guys on the channel got involved in it on pushing through this idea that football ownership needs to be regulated so we can stop things like the Super League happening again. Well, that looks like it may be getting reversed, so we'll get into a little bit of that. We'll also be looking as well at the latest Jude Bellingham update, because where would we be without a Jude Bellingham update? I feel like Jude Bellingham's becoming the new Frankie de Jong or the new Jadon Sancho. Do you know what I mean? It's like every day there's another development on that. So we will keep you updated because that's what we do. So get involved in the chat and the comments with all those conversations and all those topics, because we want to hear from you guys. And if you're not doing, make sure you are hitting that like button. Santa Notch has already said it. Like the video. He's right. Yeah, and also there's a link in there. Subscribe to the channel. Morning, Jay. That was quick from last night poll results. Yes, we'll get into that. We did a poll on the channel last night about do you think he's going to go. We've done it on Twitter as well about Harry Maguire. Some people saying it's unfair. I'm going to get into that. Mozabi says it's getting ridiculous now. It's getting unfair. So we'll go into that in a minute. First of all, I just want to quickly talk about this Liz Truss story, or this story, because there was a plan for an independent football regulator. This came on the back of, you know, when the Super League happened, that people were looking at going, you know what, you can't just let these owners just do what they want. And, you know, there needs to be something in the government and overseeing it so you can stop it happening again. And there's not just going to be this breakaway league or all this other stuff. You know, it needs to be regulated. Now, apparently, this was all in place from Boris Johnson and his government. They were going to do this. Gary Neville had been one of the sort of lead proponents of this. Also, the former sports minister, Tracy Crouch even, had done a sort of a fan-led review, and she'd backed it as well. And he goes on to say, the plan for the regulator will be to oversee club ownership checks. This is from the Times, by the way. Breaches of rules and even possible financial distribution. Now, in her leadership campaign, Liz Truss said she was going to do that. She's going to support it. And now it looks like it's being rolled back a little bit. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. Kevin Miles, who's the chief executive of the Football Supporters Association, which took part in the review, said, we are not aware of any change in government policy. The previous Prime Minister and Culture Secretary have given support for an independent regulator. We look forward to the publication of the white paper, which is going to look into it, and we hope that happens soon. However, there's this report that Liz Truss, you know, she's put on hold the plan for the independent football regulator, which makes you think, why she put it on hold? Is she going to roll it back? With all this, you know, stuff that's going on with the government and deregulating everything, are they going to deregulate that idea as well? So we'll keep you posted on that one. It's just a little bit frustrating because it looked like there was something going down there where you go, okay, great. Maybe we can stop the Super League. Maybe we can start holding some of these owners to account. And I'm not a big fan of, you know, the government getting involved in everything, but it did seem like that was a sort of a decent effort, or the right idea, I should say, by the likes of Gary Neville and others to make it, you know, safer in terms of stopping another Super League. However, the saga continues, doesn't it? It just does. So we'll have to wait and see. And as always, we'll give you any updates and any developments as and when they come in. Get involved in the chat and the comments and let us know what you think about that. Do you care? Do you think the government are the answer to our problems when it comes to owners? Does this affect you at all? Well, I think it affects everyone, but, you know, what's your take on it? I know when you see government and football, I just think, oh, bore off. But this does look like it might be something a little bit more important than that. Anyway, enough of that Liz Truss nonsense. Shall we get to Jude Bellingham? We've not had a Jude Bellingham story for at least 24 hours, or at least 23 hours. You can see here from the thumbnail, United building ties with Jude Bellingham. Now, this has come, I think this is in the Independent, and it says here, Manchester United have gained an advantage in the race to sign Borussia Dortmund midfielder Jude Bellingham. The Daily Express, so here you go, keep up with me here. So this is in the Independent, and this says, the Daily Express reports, citing The Athletic. Yeah? So you with me? So this is the Independent telling us what the Daily Express is reporting from the Athletic. Okay. I'm glad you keep up. But we get there in the end. It says United have been keeping a close eye on the 19-year-old England international development and even building ties with his family in a bid to beat Liverpool to his signature. Yeah, he's been linked, hasn't he, quite heavily with United and Liverpool. I think it was Fabrizio Romano said that there's a good chance he'll join either one of those two clubs. I've had it in my news. I think Mac has had it in his news. This week, there was the thing with Brian Robson where he spoke about how the club pulled out all the stops back in 2019, I want to say, to try and sign Jude Bellingham. They had Eric Cantona, they had Sir Alex Ferguson, they had Brian Robson, of course, at Carrington to meet him. They showed Jude Bellingham and his family around, did their best to woo him. He fancied Dortmund, though, for footballing reasons. Mainly, you're going to get more game time and that sort of stuff, which is, is probably accurate. Because when we were after him, I think he was 16. Would he have gone straight into the Manchester United team? Probably not. So he's gone out, he's gone to Dortmund, played a lot of football. His star has risen dramatically, and now there's a good chance that he goes for over 100 million quid in the summer, and United are one of those clubs that are after him. Could have an advantage there with the relationship with the father. Apparently there's a decent relationship there, even though he didn't sign for us. They built a relationship with the family, and that's been maintained. We'll have to wait and see what happens with Jude Bellingham. I think there's going to be a lot of twists and turns with this. I think there's going to be a fly in the ointment when someone like City or Chelsea or ever come in for him, or maybe Real Madrid. He has been linked with some of those clubs already, don't forget. We'll have to wait and see as well. I've said this a few times as to who's got Champions League football. Have United got Champions League football to offer him next season? Have Liverpool, for that matter? It's not set in stone. They will have. You'd expect them to, but you never know. So we'll have to wait and see with so many ifs and buts and maybes. I think we were talking about this last night. His family are quite hands-on with him in terms of his career. I think there was a story last night we had on the Paddock Live about them trademarking his name. They're very aware of the sort of Jude Bellingham brand. So that could even be a plus for United, because United, regardless of what you think about our performance on the football pitch, we are, one of the most spoke about clubs in the world, one of the clubs that gets the most attention, that gets the most sort of social media engagement, all out of the nonsense that the money men care about. But if you've got a brand, that might be something that appeals to you. I don't know. However, we will keep you updated on any developments when it comes to Jude Bellingham, because there's no doubt he's an immensely talented young lad, doing great stuff for Dortmund. We've seen him play for England as well, but you saw him the other night against City, played very well. It's the second time I've seen him play very well against Manchester City. He was unlucky last time he played. I think he had a goal disallowed, but he obviously scored one this time round. He's not just about goals, though, is it? Let us know in the comments. Do you think we should be going all out for Jude Bellingham? Do you think we could get him? Is he the answer to, not the answer to our problems, but can he take us to the next level? Ocean Man says, still want Frankie de Jong yet. Brenaldino says, Jay, how chuffed are you about Trump's new legal troubles? It's all kicking off in it over the States now. Donald Trump, eh? I'll comment on that, Scotty and Motty. Well, yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Stephen Richard Robertson says, Jude Bellingham, watch. Now it used to be Sancho, watch for a year. Then it was Frankie D, and now we're on to Jude Bellingham. Yeah, it does feel like, I'm not going to lie, it does, it does feel like he's the new Jadon Sancho, the new Frankie de Jong. Just on Frankie de Jong as well, because he was speaking the other day, wasn't he? Was it last night he was talking? And he was saying about, more or less saying he was never going to leave Barcelona, which sort of begs the question, what was going on in the summer then? Why did we spend, whatever it was, 8 weeks or whatever, or 10 weeks, I can't remember the exact time, but it was a long time, chasing him if he never had the intention of leaving? Or is he just saying that because he didn't leave? Is he saying, didn't want to leave? I was never going to leave Barcelona, when had the money been right, or had that £17 million that he was owed in wages been sorted, maybe he left. I don't know. It just seems a little bit odd that there was so much focus on Frankie de Jong this summer, and now, while he's away with the Dutch national team, he's saying, actually, I was never going to leave Barcelona. Get involved in the comments and let us know what you think about any of these stories. Glenn F says, no, Jude won't come to us, in my honest opinion. Neil C says, Frankie de Jong is never coming. There was some talk on that maybe we'll get him in January. I doubt it. Frankie de Jong, guys. Obviously a very talented player. He does still feature for Barcelona. There's this thing about him being dropped. I think he's come off the bench a couple of times, but he's still, first team player for Barcelona. Yeah, CO James John says Frankie de Jong to Barcelona, never going to give you up. Right. Gavin Williams says apparently de Jong is taking Busquets' role next season. Zion Stewart says we need to move on. Daryl KG says I feel Jude, going back to Jude Bellingham, could be interesting and different. Santa Notch says, prefer we will link this much with a top striker. Yeah, there hasn't been anything really concrete in terms of a striker, has there? There's been a few rumblings. Like, the Ivan Toney thing was a bit of a rumbling, wasn't it? But it doesn't seem to be anything concrete where you go, yeah, we're definitely in for him, we're definitely going to get him. There was also the other kid as well, Brian Brober. Should we move on anyway to Harry Maguire? I think they're giving me a message there with the thumbnail. Yeah. Dropped by Southgate, question mark. There's a few stories doing the rounds about Harry Maguire. So I'll try and keep you updated and let you know the sort of different caveats to this. So we had this story in with the ESPN where it's come out about Harry Maguire and someone from his camp saying that basically he's not happy, but the last sort of the poor performances aren't just down to him. Excuse me. So there's now a story that's doing the rounds on the back of that. There's lots of stuff on social media, but this sort of seems as a side to this. This is Sven-Göran Eriksson, who used to manage England, I'm sure you're aware. He said Gareth Southgate should drop Harry Maguire and Luke Shaw. Now, this is nothing to do with any potential, comments that he's made. He's just talking about it from a football point of view. You've got a player there that's not playing regularly for his club. Is it time to drop him? Now, I get that argument. How can you have someone playing for the national team if they're not playing for the club? Does seem a little bit strange. He's also mentioned Luke Shaw as well there, who isn't getting games at Manchester United. A sort of combination of being dropped and then picking up an injury. Now with Maguire, I think it's a bit different with Southgate and Maguire because Luke Shaw has been in and out of the England team. There was a time when Luke Shaw wasn't even in the England squad under Gareth Southgate. Maguire's been pretty much a sort of stalwart of England under Southgate. He's one of his guys. Now, Maguire's record for England as well is very good. He's played a lot of good games. He's played a lot of games. Even you go back to Euros. I know Shaw played well in the Euros as well, but Maguire had a good World Cup, didn't he, in 2018. In the Euros, I think he was in Team of the Year, was he? Or Team of the Tournament, sorry. Plus, he got star in a match against Germany. So he turns up for England. And he's been, like I said earlier, one of the regular players under Gareth Southgate. So I'm not that shocked that Harry Maguire is keeping his place. And also, he has played games for Manchester United this season. He started, I think, 3 games, is it? Something like 3 games? A couple in the league and one in the Europa. So he's got minutes. And he's a player that's been consistent for England. And I'd always think this thing as well of, you might have a select few that you keep in your team no matter what. Like 1 or 2 players that... if Harry Kane stops scoring for Tottenham, does Southgate drop him? I don't think so. Jordan Pickford goes a little bit off the boil. I know he's injured at the minute. Goes a little bit off the boil for Everton. Does he get dropped? I don't think he does. And I think Harry Maguire's in that same thing of Harry Maguire is one of Southgate's guys. So I get it. And also, I don't think the other options are that great. Some people go, Tyrone Mings or whatever. I don't rate Tyrone Mings that highly at all. So I can understand why. I can understand both sides. I can see why Sven-Göran Eriksson is the next manager saying you pick the players that are playing for the club. But I can understand Southgate, if he does keep sticking with Harry Maguire, why he would do that. Also, I'm not going to lie to you, I'm not that fussed. There's part of me that thinks if he's not getting against United and he's getting against England, good, he's getting some match practice. There's a comment here from Yash Gami, says, Maguire suits back 5 and 1 to 2 DMs. Yeah, it's a bit different from England, isn't it? You remember when in the World Cup especially, it was like the back 3 that worked really well. Or back 5, you could say, with the wing-backs. Slightly different at Manchester United. So, yeah, there's that side to this Maguire story about, Sven-Göran Eriksson sort of sticking up for him. Or not sticking up for him, sorry, the opposite. Sven-Göran Eriksson saying he should be dropped. However, you've got Giorgio Chiellini, who, the Italian legend, shall we say? I think it's safe to say that. He stuck up for him saying, I am sad for Harry Maguire's situation because he's a good player. They require too much of him. Just because they paid 80 million for him, he has to be the best in the world every match. It's not right. He then goes on to say, the value of the market is dependent on many aspects you can't control. It's not your fault. Now, I agree with this. I don't think you can blame Harry Maguire for his price tag. It's not his fault Manchester United paid 80 million quid for him. I don't buy into the argument, and I think he makes another good point, actually, that because you paid 80 million for him, the most for any defender, he must be the best defender in the world. That's not how football or life works. if that was the case, then Romelu Lukaku would be the best striker ever. Because I think if you add up all his transfer fees, I think you paid more for him as a striker than practically anyone. That's not, you know, it's just, there's no logic there. We overpaid for Harry Maguire. Now, even if you rate Harry Maguire, and I think he has had good spells at Manchester United, people forget that. There's no denying we overpaid for him, and that's not his fault. You know, he didn't decide the transfer fee. So there's a point there. I just feel like with this latest sort of saga, if we can call it that, that's going on, it's just not helping matters. And we'll move on to that now because you've had the sort of statements coming out. But even before that, Rio Ferdinand was talking about Harry Maguire. I think he was talking about on the Five podcast, or the Vibe with Five podcast, sorry. He does with some bloke called Stephen House. I don't know who he is. I've never heard of him. And he was saying if there's any takers with Eric Ten Hag, or for any takers for Harry Maguire, I think Ten Hag lets him go. I think he'll want to go if he isn't playing. I don't think he wants to sit there. And there are other people who have chosen to sit there when they aren't playing, and that's fine. But I don't think Harry Maguire is one of those guys. He loves football and wants to play, and he'll have an open and honest conversation with the manager. So could he be on his way out there, Harry Maguire? Could he even, you know, could that be it for him in January, perhaps? Don't forget as well, if, and lots of it is buts and maybes here, if Harry Maguire has a good World Cup, if he keeps his place, has a good World Cup, that doesn't necessarily force him back into the United team. Because, you know, if Martinez and Varane are the partnership, is Ten Hag going to go, well, you've had a good World Cup, you're in now? I don't think he does. But Harry Maguire might be like, what's going on here? I'm an England regular. I've just had a good World Cup and I'm coming back to sit on the bench for Manchester United. And whilst we do need cover, especially with Raphael Varane's injury record, you do have a first-choice centre-back partnership, don't you? You always have that. You have players that come in and do a good job. You know, I remember when we used to have the sort of like Jonsson, Stam and Berg, I think, for a while, come in, and Berg played a lot of football, but he wasn't always the starter. And you have that sort of rotation. You might have one or two defenders who do come in. There was a time when it was Chris Smalling or Johnny Evans when you had Rio and Vidic, especially towards the end of their time at United. But those two, Rio and Vidic, were the first choice. No one else was. It was only when there was injuries or rotation or whatever when you needed to rest them for the Cups. So Harry Maguire may get game time when Raphael Varane isn't fit, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's the first choice. And he might look at it and go, that's not enough for me. And United might look at it and go, okay, do we just cut our losses and let a player go for... I still think you get money for Harry Maguire. You don't get your money back. I'm not claiming that at all. But I still feel like you could get, 40 million for him? Being over ambitious there? I think if he has a good World Cup, you could. I think someone would come in for him. Definitely. I think United might look at it and go, listen, we've had a few seasons out of him. We get a bit of money back from him. He's not first choice. We move on. The only worry is, you know, are you weakening your squad? Are you going, okay, if Raphael Varane gets an injury, then it's only Vince Lindelof, and anything happens to him, and then we're, you know, what we're doing then, we're getting Tuan Zabi in the team, and he's, you know, it does get a little bit sort of worrying there. Let us know what you think, because there's no obviously right or wrong. Everyone's got an opinion on it. Stone420 says, I don't even think Housen wants to sign Maguire on a free J. Laughing emojis. Soham Riker says, Martinez, Varane, and then that emoji. Malp says 40 million, no chance. Eamon Walsh says 40 million, about right for me. So, you know, some people agreeing with that, some people saying no, not happening. Ed C says, I think Conte would take him. Definitely the likes of West Ham, Brighton could be interested at the right price. Says it all there, doesn't it? No disrespect to those clubs, but, you know, if you go from breaking the transfer record for defenders to Manchester United, an England regular, and you end up getting transferred to Brighton, it shows you just in a bit of decline, doesn't it? Mate, Compost Smurf says 40 million, user clapped. Dylan McKeel says January we need a new centre-back and sell Maguire. Joyka Trot says at least we'll still have Phil Jones. Billy T says, hi, Jay. Talk MU, great to see talking there. Love talk. Says, morning, Jay. Hit that like button. Santa Nut says, with the United's track record of moving good players on for free, yeah, we do like to move players on, don't we? We don't usually get good transfer fees for our players, do we? We'll have to wait and see what happens with Harry Maguire. It's going to rumble on in it. I think we're going to have a debate, myself, Joe Smith and Stephen Howson later on today, about where his future lies and whether United should stick or twist with Harry Maguire. So you can look forward to that on the channel. Check out all the videos we've got up as well. And make sure you are hitting that subscribe button. Hit that like button and hit subscribe as well. We want to get to 700,000 subscribers by the end of the year, by sort of Christmas. And with your support, we can do it. I've been Jay. This has been The Paper Talk. Thanks for watching.